I'm Phil Hayday-Brown. I'm the race director of the Spine Race in the UK and for the Arctic Spine in Sweden. So for 20 years, I've been doing polar expeditions, organising races in the polar regions. And the kit that you're going to see through these videos are amongst the kit that I've been using over the years. And, you know, it's all worked for me and hopefully it'll work for you. So you will need a stove in the Arctic Spine. This is an unsupported race. At checkpoints, you will get hot water, but between checkpoints, you're on your own. So you need to be carrying a stove so you can melt snow for water to boil for your food. And there's lots of options of stoves. Whichever stove you choose, you need to be quite well practiced at using that stove. I've got some different kinds here. I'm not going to set them up because I'm inside, but we're going to go through them. So firstly, we have gas stoves, which is probably what most people are used to using. And you can come in this kind of form and all you do is screw a gas bottle on the bottom like that. But this one has an automatic kind of lighter button there. The reason why I've got this one here is that in really cold conditions generally doesn't work that well. So you're always going to need to be carrying like a lighter, something that you can get, or lighter, matches. Definitely a lighter. Match is always good as a backup. You know, you can always just carry them with you. So this kind here, very lightweight, and you attach gas to it. This is a tiny gas canister. You can get big ones. You can get winter gas as well, which works better in cold conditions. And this obviously you just light with a lighter or a match. Folds down to practically nothing. Unscrews and packs away quite small. I would highly recommend using the petrol stove against a gas stove in really cold conditions, because you can always guarantee that you can light a petrol stove because it's liquid, it's flammable, and it will light. Whereas gas stoves, although there is some good gas out there now, winter gas, it still isn't brilliant when it gets down to below -30, which did happen this year in the race. It got down to -42. And this gas wouldn't work that well in those conditions. But not to put you off too much, they do still work, but they don't burn as hot as you would get a petrol stove. Now this is a typical petrol stove. It's the MSR Whisper Light, and it's a kind of priming stove, so you need to prime it up. All this detail that I'm saying here, don't get too afraid, because we do training courses on how to use this stuff. So that will be out there for you to have a look through and to join if you think you need it. But petrol stoves, I would say, are probably the way forward when it's in this kind of environment and this kind of cold. And the setup I have here, it's attached to a board. So very stable. And you can leave it on the board, cover it up, put it in your sled, and that's again the benefits of using a pulk, is I can sit in there and you can put stuff on top of it to protect it, and when you need to use the stove you can just pull it out. It goes in the vestibule of your tent and your kitchen is ready to go. If you need to be breaking it down every day, if you need to be unscrewing it every day, then there is a risk of damaging kind of seals and stuff like that. So it's always handy just to kind of leave it attached if you can. So that's that. And then this contraption here is just the next stage on. So this is a box with a stove in it and the bottle in it. And you know, it folds away, and then that is can just go slip into your pulk. Obviously that's the extreme level of it. It's not, I wouldn't say it was a lightweight way of doing it, but it is quite a well way of protecting your stove use there. So that's the kind of stoves that I would say, you know, are all very, very well to use in the cold. I mean, there is also examples like this, which is again a petrol stove. Yeah, it doesn't have a bottle with it. It's all one unit and can be folded away quite nicely in a box. But there's lots out there to go with, and obviously if you sign up to the Arctic Spine Race, then there'll be a lot more advice and help through what stoves are best and whatnot. But what I will say is you need to be well practiced in whatever stove you bring out. So lighting a petrol stove, it does take some practice. So which is why I said you need to make sure you're well practiced at it. And I'm not going to light it, but I'm going to go all the stages towards lighting it. So you've got your fuel bottle here, you got your stove here, and you've got your pump. So what you need to do is to put some pressure into the bottle. Give it a few pumps until you can feel the resistance. Then you've got your little turn handle here, and you turn that on until a little bit of fuel comes out. And you can see it gathering in the bottom, the primer there in the bottom. Then you take your lighter and you light that. I'm not going to do it in here, but you light that. Then a flame will come up and it will heat up this tube here. And then when the flames start to die down and you start to hear a little bit of a kind of a whistle or a whisper, then you turn the fuel back on. And then it'll spark up and you'll have a nice burning stove. Now, what can happen with these stoves? They can flare up. So they're a bit temperamental. So if you just turn it on full, you're just going to get a flame that comes up here. Yeah. So you turn it on a little bit, let the flame come up, let it die down, and then you just play with that until it settles down into a nice blue flame. While you're doing that, it could still flare up, but if you're in your tent, you don't want your tent to burn down. So you'll have something at hand, either a pan lid or a shovel, and you just protect the tent. Yeah. This obviously is being designed. If it does flare up, you've got the lid. You can just do this. And if something really does happen, you can close the lid on it and it's gone. Which is the beauty of having a box. With this, if it starts to go a bit mad, so fuel's been leaked all over the place and it's a lit, you just pick the whole thing up and throw it out. That's the advice. There have been examples where I've been on trips and people have come to my tent and said, "Oh, we're just having a bit of a tent fire." So what can happen is if when your stove's going and everything's nice and warm and you've used fuel from here before you go to bed at night, so you've cooked your evening meal, everything's still nice and warm. That's the time to fill up your fuel bottle. Yeah, because you'll need it for breakfast in the morning for cooking there. If you forget to do that, and then in the morning you wake up and you take your fuel bottle, which is now frozen, with not enough fuel in for breakfast, and you crack the seal, there is a chance you're going to put a hairline crack in that rubber seal, and you won't see it, you won't know it's there until it's too late. So next time you get to do the pumping, the pressure will come through the crack. Lots of fuel will then spill all over the place that you won't be aware of. And then you come to light your stove, and then, which is what you don't want to do. So this is where stove practice and routine and process come into it. So foods that to be used out there. So your main meals will probably consist of dried rations. So stuff like this, freeze dried in a pack, nice and lightweight, so you can carry quite a lot of the stuff. High calories, so that's 800 calories in there. These were 600 calories. You can even get dried rations like this, which can be 1,000 calories. So it's all about getting those calories in, because working in this environment, you'll be burning quite a lot of calories. You'll be burning maybe 5,000-6,000 calories a day. Consuming that many calories per day is quite hard. So you need to have quite high dense calorie kind of food. This stuff works quite well for your meals, but you need to be eating through the day as well. And what we normally do is you'll have a day bag. So you'll have it full of nuts, chocolate, cheese, salamis, flapjacks, kind of high calorific foods like that you can just graze on through the day. And that kind of stuff doesn't really freeze, so you're not going to break your teeth or anything like that. And you can think of a lot of stuff. There was a chap I used to to go out with in the cold, and he used to get a bag of crisps, scrunch them all up, put them in a bag. They don't freeze, but it's just flavor and texture sometimes is what you want to make different. This stuff can get a bit mushy. So you put in your day bags what you enjoy eating. And, so it's a free reign to eat chocolate and cheese and meat and nuts. But, if you people make their own flapjacks, so you can make your own flapjacks out of your own recipe. And in the cold, they don't freeze that solid, so you can eat them on the move, which is really handy as well. So you're going to need just to keep that grazing throughout the day. So in your travel routine, you might be skiing or snowshoeing for 2 hours, break for 5 minutes, have a drink and have something to eat, and then you crack on again. So you've always got to have something at hand, and you don't always want to be cracking on your stove while you're traveling, which is when you get to your tent at night, you get your tent up, you get inside, you get your stove on. That's when you melt snow to then boil the water to put into these. And this is what you have for your evening meal. You can even get desserts in these things. So, you can really fill your boots there. And you can get breakfast as well. So you can get porridge, hot muesli, that kind of stuff, which works quite well for the start of the day. So, but this is a race, so it's all about tactics. So a lot of people, they'll have an evening meal, but what they'll do in the morning, they'll just fill up a flask full of hot water, and they'll take one of these out on the trail with them, and they'll fill up that later. So it saves them the routine in the morning of having to get their stoves on. So they don't do the stoves in the morning. They'll just have hot water from the night before, which should be okay if it's been kept in their sleeping bag overnight, and then crack on the next day. And on the trail, they just top up these bags and eat from there. So it's another way of doing it as well. So there's lots of different ways to eat on these trips. And again, within all of our training programs, we go through nutrition and all that kind of stuff as well. Arctic Spine Race, entries are open. Book a call with myself and let's make this happen.